They say symbols are just drawings, ink on bark, scars on stone, relics behind glass. But in ancient Africa, symbols breathed. They chanted in the firelight. They walked inside dreams. And some, they say, could kill a man before his heartbeat finished its song. This is the story of 5 sacred symbols, carved in civilizations rich with gold, spirit, and blood. Not painted for decoration, no. These were etched into the bones of kingdoms, kingdoms now buried beneath sand and time. Each one held a power that not even death could erase. This is Voices of the Forgotten, where Africa's lost stories rise again from ash, from silence, from shadow. The Nsibidi Eye, Nigeria's hidden language of watching. This began in the forest of southeastern Nigeria, beneath the red canopies of the Cross River. A girl named Odioma was born in a quiet village near the edge where the trees whisper. No one said the mountain's name after dark. By age 5, Odioma was drawing symbols in the sand. Not animals, not patterns, eyes, endless eyes, eyes inside triangles, spirals, caged lines. When they asked her where she saw them, she would simply gesture to the trees. What they didn't know, she wasn't imagining. She was drawing Nsibidi. Long before English, before colonization, the Ikom people carved wisdom into stone with an ancient symbolic language. Nsibidi was never spoken. It was danced and transferred between members of secret leagues, especially the powerful Ekpe society, the leopard cult. Then one morning, Odioma disappeared. All they found were the symbols, covering every inch of her room, etched deep into mud walls, and at the center, the eye. They called it Anyaua, the eye of the world. It wasn't art, it was a watcher, a symbol of truth, and if anyone lied before it, sickness would crawl into their bones like smoke beneath skin. Years later, archaeologists near Calabar uncovered similar symbols drawn on buried stones. One was taken by a scholar back to London. Weeks later, he was found, not murdered, but blind. His eyes ruptured. The eye didn't want to be taken. It sees, still, especially when you're sure that no one is watching. The Dinka oxhorn, South Sudan's spirit of the ancestor. South Sudan, the land of cattle, sweat, and sand, home to the Dinka, whose spirit is bound to the beast with long curved horns. But not every ox was sacred, only one, the more Aken, the spirit ox. In a small dry village during drought, a child named Deng Aguirre was born. Lightning struck a baobab the moment he took his first breath. Myths whispered that this boy would speak with the ancestors. Deng did not cry. He did not laugh, but every night he disappeared into the fields. He returned covered in dust, his hair full of leaves, singing in a language none taught him. He said he walked in Aken Ayul, the realm of the dead. His father thought it imagination, until Deng began carving ox horns, not for art, but for calls. Each horn was carved and soaked for 7 days, then buried under a new moon. The stories say if the ritual was performed exactly, the horn would call an ancestor, and sometimes they would answer. No one believed until war came. Rebels stormed the village. As bullets rained, Deng stood in the square and raised one of his ox horns. The bullets dropped before they touched ground, like rain that had forgotten how to fall. There was no gunfire, no screams, only silence. The rebels ran. Deng vanished.
Only the horn remained, humming, still warm. Today, in Dinka land, they say cattle are not just wealth, they are echoes, animals of memory. Carving a horn is not preparing dinner, it's preparing passage. Because some ox horns don't call cows, they call the ones long buried. The Duafe Comb, Ghana's forgotten queen and the curse of beauty. Ghana was more than a land of gold. Before its empires wore crowns of iron and silk, it birthed queens who bathed in the language of the gods. Adoma was not a ruler, not yet. They called her the beauty of the forest. Kings crossed borders just to hear her speak. But Adoma held a symbol in her hand more powerful than any sword. Duafe, the comb, delicate, curved, soft, it symbolized cleanliness, gentleness, and feminine energy. Ashanti girls received them at womanhood. But Adoma's was different. Her comb was carved from fallen wawa wood, but only wood that fell without a sound. It bore lines not found in common Duafe, and a black crystal was embedded along its teeth. Some said it sang quietly at night. It came to her in a dream or a mist. The day of her wedding to War Chief Kojo Brago, Adoma used the comb before the mirror, and her reflection blinked. First slower than expected, then faster. Then it smiled while she frowned. From then on, Adoma's beauty changed. Not prettier, too pretty, beyond human. Warriors who looked her in the eye forgot their own names. Her touch burned through silver. Kings offered kingdoms, then went mad the next moon. On her wedding day, the war chief died before reaching the altar. Collapsed beside a dove. No blade, no poison, heart struck by silent fire. Some said Duafe was care, but in the wrong hands, it was a mirror to obsession. The comb was eventually found snapped in two, black sap oozing from its handle like a wound. In museums, these combs are displayed behind sealed glass. No one dares touch them, because beauty can be the sharpest curse. The Veve of Simbi, Congo's water spirit that answers in storms. In the Congo, there is a bend in the river that people call the turning. No canoes pass it, fish refuse it, even the trees seem to bend away. It was during a harvest celebration that a small boy named Kasa chased something no one else saw, a bird made of light, into the river. He disappeared beneath the waves. He returned 12 years later, and he hadn't aged. He looked his mother in the eye and said calmly in Kikongo, "This is not my body, the river lent it to me." Inscribed on his chest was something strange, a symbol. 3 water spirals, branches like river deltas, sharp waves. It glowed when wet, hummed when near fire. It was the Veve of Simbi Makaya. Simbi is not a name said casually. He is the water spirit, the whisper between worlds. He walks the thin veil between living, dreaming, and vanishing.
Veves are symbols used in voodoo and spiritual rites across the Congo and the Caribbean. They are not art. They are keys, invocations, patterns worn by spirits. Simbi's Veve calls him, not always gently. Kasa said the river taught him old languages, showed him the shape of future deaths, but warned him, once you call Simbi, he answers. And once he enters, he never truly leaves. A missionary once copied the Veve onto his church's stone floor, thinking it a harmless local motif. That week, black frogs fell from the sky. To call Simbi is to knock on the river's chest. But be ready, because sometimes it knocks back. The Scarab of Kemet, Egypt's living resurrection. Kemet, known today as Egypt,
the Black Land, the land of sun and buried sorcery. Of all the sacred emblems, ankhs, eyes, sphinxes, nothing carried resurrection like the scarab. At first glance, it's just a beetle, but in the world of the ancients, it was Khepri, the god who moved the sun, the god who ensured becoming over and over. History tells of Queen Sobeknefru. When the Nile failed and crocodiles cried instead of hunting, it was said that she made a pact. She wore a necklace of gold with a single carved scarab, so black it absorbed light. Each year on the same night, she buried it at dusk and dug it up before dawn. With each year, she grew younger, softer, eternal. Her court aged, she did not. Until one day, a slave girl found the amulet before the queen did and pressed it to her chest. That night, 12 of her siblings choked in their sleep. The girl hung herself the next morning. They say rebirth comes at a price, and not everyone survives the payment. When her tomb was uncovered centuries later, thousands of stone scarabs lined the walls. Some had odd glints in their eyes. One of the explorers claimed he saw one crawl up the wall. He died in his hotel room, eyes wide open, mouth full of river sand. The scarab does not symbolize death. It symbolizes what comes after, which for some may be far worse. Colonizers told the world these symbols were gone, lost, destroyed, replaced. But they weren't. They were hidden, folded into lullabies, dance steps, necklaces, and sacred cloths. Because once a symbol holds power, it's never truly erased. It changes shape, sleeps for a time, and when the spirits are ready, it wakes. And to this day, 5 stones still sit by the river's edge, and they're watching, waiting for the next hand to draw. What if that scarf in your grandmother's drawer, the carvings on your father's walking stick? What if those aren't decorations? What if they're messages? What if they've been waiting for you? Tell us in the comments what African symbols live in your family. This is Voices of the Forgotten. Subscribe, and every week we'll draw the line and let the spirits do the rest.